Hi, everyone. Welcome to my studio. My name is Jerry Ford, and what are we going to do today? We're going to make this absolutely adorable little bag for cell phone or from candy, whatever. I call him Frankie the Monster. This little bag is done entirely in the hoop, and if you would like a copy of it, feel free to email me at waltzquilt@yahoo.com, and I'll be happy to send you the design in PES format. It'll fit in just about any machine that'll take a 5x7 or larger hoop. Okay, let's get started. Okay, for this project, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need your 5x7 hoop, of course, and I am using tearaway stabilizer, but you could use a no-show mesh, whatever you like. Just don't use a heavy cutaway. You want either a tearaway or that no-show mesh. Okay, you're going to need a few fabrics for this. First of all, you're going to need some batting, 2 pieces of batting, about 6 inches by 8 inches, and that'll fit inside your hoop. Okay, you need a larger than you need zipper, probably about an 8 or a 9-inch zipper would be fine. I just happen to have a lot of these big 14-inch zippers. It must be a nylon coil, and you want to make sure it's not handbag size. In other words, you don't want the coils to be too thick because we're going to be stitching through these. Okay, you're going to need 3 pieces of black fabric, and I'm using scraps, so these are kind of irregularly shaped. You're going to need one that's about 6 inches by 8 inches for the back. You're going to need one about 6 inches wide by about 6 to 7 inches long for his hair here. You're going to need another one about 4 inches by 6 inches for the top of his hair. Okay. You're going to need a piece of green, just a really mooky green, and this is just a scrap. Again, about 6 inches by 6 inches, or 6 inches by should be fine. Then you're going to need some pieces for the lining. You're going to need one 6 inches by 8 inches for the lining. Again, I'm using scraps, and one about the same thing, about 6 inches by 6 inches and 6 inches by 4 inches for the top inside lining. It's if you want him to have the little bolts here, then you want to use 2 pieces of ribbon about 2 inches long. I prefer silver, but I don't have any, so I'm using black. If you want to put a handle on it, then I have just made a prepared just strap for it, just out of some scrap fabric that I just simply folded in half and then half again, and then top stitched along the side. This is just something extra. You could use webbing. You could use, a piece of chain. You could even put 2D rings on the top and put a chain top on it. It's up to you. Or you don't have to put any type of handle on it. It's going to be helpful if you have a nice pair of scissors that are rather sharp, and these are embroidery scissors. They're curved. It makes it easier to clip the applique fabric. And then I like to use quilter's pins. And so we're going to use, and he's like, what on earth? You'll see. And then I like to use painter's tape to hold things together. I like to use this one, and it's made by 3M, and it's called a delicate surface. It comes off really easily and doesn't tear the threads out. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to load my design onto the machine. We're going to start with the back, so I'm going to call it Frankie Back is the name of the file. Load that into your machine, and we'll start stitching it. Oh, thread colors. Almost forgot. Thread colors, you're going to need, of course, embroidery bobbin thread, and I just used 2 colors. I used black, and I used glow-in-the-dark white. You can use just plain white. And one thing that is also kind of helpful, I like to have dissolve away thread. My preference is Vanish Extra by Superior Threads, and what that does is that when you do your basting, especially of the green, and it's hard to see it, in fact, if you end up with a little bit of pulling in, and I can just see a tiny bit of thread here. I'm not even going to take that out. But if you had it significant, if you use the wash away thread, to baste in this green fabric. You're never going to see it because if it shows up, you just hit it with a little bit of water and it dissolves away. And that keeps you from having to take out threads if you don't like the way they look. These are so close, I can't even see them. I'm not even going to take them out. Okay, let's go to the machine. All right, I have loaded the design into the machine and it's called Frankie Back. I'm going to select it. I've put black thread into my needle and regular embroidery thread into the bobbin. So the first color stop is going to show me the placement for the batting. Here goes. And it's just going to stitch a placement. Sorry, my thread broke. Okay, I'm going to put my batting on top of the stitching so that it covers everything. You want to make sure it covers all of that. The second color stop is going to tack down this batting. Okay, now I'm going to remove the hoop from the machine, just a little, and I'm going to trim away this excess batting. And what this will do is it will help eliminate the bulky seams in the bag. Just make it a lot easier to turn. Don't worry if you clip the stitching, it's okay. Just don't clip the stabilizer. That we need. Alright, now I'm going to return the hoop to the machine and do the last color stop. And what this is going to do is stitch down both the batting and the edges, but it is also, what it's also going to do is quilt it. Okay, now it's going to tack it down. You want to leave at least a ½ inch all the way around. I've got enough here. Okay, we're good. Okay, this is going to be kind of like paint drying, so I will be back when it's done stitching. Okay, it's done quilting it and tacking, and you will see that it did it very nicely. Okay, I'm going to remove the fabric from the hoop. I'm going to tear away this excess stabilizer. Don't need it. I don't need to remove any more than that. If you're using a cutaway and you're using that cutaway no-show mesh, just leave it. You don't have to remove it at all. And I'm just going to trim this to about a ½ inch away. And I'm going to set it aside. Because now we're going to work on the front. So I've, again, hooped just the stabilizer in the machine. This one's called Frankie Front, so I'm going to load that into the machine. Set. And embroidery. And then I'm just going to leave that black in there. And the first color it does is going to be a placement for the batting, just like the front. It skipped, but that's okay. I know where it's just a placement line, so I will just let that go. I know where I need to place my batting. Okay, and then after I stitched it on, then I went ahead and I cut all around here from outside the lines and between the top and the bottom of the front. Okay, now the next thing we're going to stitch is we're going to be tacking down the green for the face, and things pull in a little bit. I don't want that black stitching to be seen on the front of the bag. I could leave it there and then pick it out, but yeah, I'd rather not do that. So anytime I have something that I'm worried about it showing through, like anytime I do a handbag or a mug rug or anything I have to turn, well, sometimes that outside just shows through and it's unsightly. So I'm going to base this layer on with a wash away thread. That way, if I don't get it right or it pulls in a little bit, you're not going to see the stitching. Okay, I'm going to put this so that it covers all the stitching, and I'm just going to tack down. This is color stop number 3, and this is tacking down the face. Okay, on this, after it's done stitching the face on, I'm just simply going to trim the top. I'm going to leave the rest alone till we're done. Just trim the top edge. I'm going to go ahead and put back into the top so that I can see what's going on. This color stop number 4 is going to show us the placement for the zipper. I'm just going to stitch that. I'm going to place the zipper on here. I want the teeth of the zipper facing towards you and the zipper pull on the left. I'm going to place this so this is exactly in the middle between the 2 stitching lines, and I'm going to use some of this tape to hold it down. I'll do the ends first, smack dab in the middle. Same thing here. And I will put a few extra pieces of tape in the center part. It's probably going to stitch over that, but that's all right if it does. We can always remove it. It's what I like about this tape. It's easy to remove. I'm going to hold it in place. More importantly, I'm going to keep my finger on this button, and it's just going to catch the edge. And I can stop anytime I see it not catching the edge, or like it's doing right there. I'll remove that piece of tape. And see, I can see that it's catching. Okay, so I'll keep going. It's just catching the edge of the tape, of the zipper. Let that go a little bit. I'm going to stop, slow down. Actually, I'm going to stop and take that piece of tape out. That way I don't have to remove it, do I? And I'll hold this here and just keep going. But don't let as long as you don't let your finger off the button, it's going to keep going slow. Okay, when I want to stop, I'll just double click, pull that piece of tape out. Again, hard to do this around the camera. Okay. Having a little trouble, so there we go. Stop. Pull tape out. And if you see that it's having, it doesn't hurt to give it a little push. Again, I'm holding this down, it's going right at the edge. Take your time with this. Take that piece out. Again, I'm just checking, and I can see with my eyes that it is catching the very edge of that zipper, and that's exactly what I want it to do. I don't want it get going way in. And I'll pull that piece of tape off. And then it finishes up. All right. I'm going to change to my glow-in-the-dark white thread for the eyes and the teeth. Okay. going to stitch the eyes. This will take a few minutes to stitch, so what I will do is come back as soon as it's done stitching the eyes and the teeth. Okay, we finished the eyes and his teeth. And now we're going to put black back into the needle of this machine, and we're going to stitch the details of his face. Again, this is like watching paint dry. So I'm going to go ahead and I will stitch this off camera, and I'll be back. All it's doing is the details on his face, his eyebrows, his eyes, the nose, his mouth, and the zipper line on his face. Okay, there is his face. So now we're going to put his hair on and the lining for the front at the same time. So let's go to the table. I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to do the back first. Okay. We're going to attach the linings. Okay, so here's the back, and I'm taking, this one is a little bit longer. You want to use at least a 6-inch wide piece by at least 7 or 8 inches long. This one I've left it at 8 inches. I'm going to place this. See here, the bottom of this zipper, where that was the placement for the zipper line. I'm going to put this right sides facing the inside, because this is going to eventually look like that. So let me go ahead, and you can tape it into place if you like. I'll just tape it for now, which is here and here, taping it outside the line. Okay. I'm going to carefully turn it over. Now, we don't need a really long piece because it's just his hair. So again, this is, I'm going to put it right there on that line, and you may tape that if you like. Okay. I might even tape it a little bit right here. Okay, now, what I am going to do, because I don't want this to get caught anywhere, I see these are quilter's pins. They're curved already, so it makes them easy to put through the layers and not worry about getting them caught or poking through your tearaway stabilizer, because you know you're not going to leave them there. They're just there to hold the fabric in place while you transport your hoop to the machine. And see, it's on the back. We're good to go. Okay, let's go back to the machine. In order to keep that tape from rubbing, as soon as you get it clipped right here, sort of tilt that out as you push it back, and that way nothing will get caught. I'm going to move those pins out of the way. Okay, now this is going to tack down the hair. Okay. I'm removing this tape and the pins. I'm going to pull this hair forward, finger press this. It's going to stitch down the tack down for the rest of his hair. All right, now I'm going to remove this hoop from the machine. I want to be careful not to push this back down. So, but I'm going to go to the table, and I'm going to carefully trim. Okay, I'm going to start to cut this. I'll turn this the right side so you can see. All right, where the hair peaks down this way, I just want to cut straight across. Then I'm going to cut in towards those tack down lines. And when I come to the other side, go straight across. All right. Now, I want to return this to the machine, and I'm going to stitch the satin stitch to stitch these raw edges down. Why I'm leaving this is because I really don't want this stitching. I really don't want this stitching to show on the inside of the bag. So I'm going to keep this out of the way. You can remove the tape if you like, but I'm still going to put the pin back because I don't trust that it's not going to cause problems. Okay, it's back in the machine. I want to double check that I'm not going to get my lining caught. So I'm going to sort of pull on the back of it, make sure it's out of the way. All right, now it's going to stitch down the satin stitch on top of the raw edges. Okay, I'm going to finish stitching this off camera. Okay, it has stitched all of that. So I'm just simply going to take the hoop out. I'm going to remove this pin. I'm going to take this in the back, just finger press it down. I'm going to put the pins in the bottom this time because I want to secure the top down flat. I'm just going to hold it for now. Alrighty. Put this on back into the hoop. Again, I just want to, can remove the pin. Just going to give this a little tug just to make sure it's nice and flat and catching under there. So that's good. And then lower the presser foot, and then this is going to tack down. It's going to tack down the lining on the bottom part of the lining. And it will also top stitch the top, the zipper. And take this out because now we're going to work on the top part. See, the bottom is nice and secure. So now I'm going to go back to the table. We're going to do the same thing for the top. All right, so over here, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to put the lining face down. And I'm going to put it in between these two top lines. And I'm just going to tape it in place temporarily. Tape everywhere. Okay. Carefully turn it over. And here's the top of his hair. Again, I'm going to place it in the same spot between those two lines and tape it in place. And this is just to get to the machine. Okay, I'll put another piece in the middle just to hold it. I'm going to take my pins and I want to come underneath, just grab it and then just run that pin up. It's not going to stay, so I'm just using this to transport it to the machine to make sure everything is loading correctly. Okay, and see, they're caught on the back. See, that's not going to move around. Okay, let's go back to the machine. All right, now I've got the top secured in place. Check underneath to make sure that everything is still secure. Lower the presser foot, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch the seam. Remove this here. Take the tape out. And I'm going to start on the back, take the tape off. And see, we've got a very nice long seam, wide seam allowance. That's fine. It's more than we need, but you could trim it if you like, but it is not necessary. Okay, I'm going to finger press this into place. And same thing with this one. I'm going to finger press that into place. I'll do that on the table. Okay, here it is on the back. If you like, you can put your pins there for a second. We'll get them out in a minute. Just slide on them there so don't flip over on me. Same thing over here. If you found you haven't gotten your zipper exactly in the center, guess what? See, it's hard to tell, but it is not perfectly in the center. It's hard to see, so I just creased it so that it looks like it's in the center, and it certainly does. Okay, so I'm going to pin through all these layers for a second. Get off the back, make sure that it is smooth, pin through the layers. Okay. And we're not going to leave it, just so secure it while we get over to the machine. Okay, now I'll return this to the machine, and I'm just double checking to make sure that nothing has folded underneath. It's good to go. Then I can go ahead and take these 2 pins out. Okay, and I'm just going to smooth this down. It's going to tack down and top stitch at the same time. So it's tacking down the lining and the top. And now it's going to top stitch the top of the zipper. Okay, it's pretty much done now. Now we just need to put our layers together. I'm going to take this to the table and I'm going to show you how I'm going to get this together. And now this is where it helps to have one of those wool pressing mats. If you don't have one, then use a towel or your ironing board instead. So here we go. And I just need some straight pins for this. The first thing here, to be sure you have not forgotten to open the zipper to about halfway through. If you want to add the bolts on the side, this is a good time to do that. And I'm just going to tape it into place. I'm going to run through the tape, but I'll pull that tape out. This tape is very easy to remove. Okay. And that's about right too. And no thumbs today. Okay. If you want to put your straps in, this is a good time to do it. So sort of put them in place. I'm going to put these about 1/2 inch outside. I want that to stay still, so I'm going to put this in here. There we go, and about the same distance from the other side. Tape it down and tape it down here. And I'm going to fold it up as flat as I can. This is where it helps to have this board. I want to take my pins and I'm going to pin base this corner, making sure that I haven't flipped it around. Straight up and down. Into this corner. Okay, here we go. Smash it in there. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to tape it in. Really good. And here. Okay, take these pins out and back to the machine. All right, now I'm ready to put the top and the bottom together. Okay, so lower my presser foot. And it's doing. I'm just making sure that it's catching. And it is. We're doing good. Which way we're going? It's going to do a bean stitch. Just making sure it's catching. And it's right on. Stop. Take that piece of tape out. Okay. And it is turning the corner. Here we go. it's right aligned with the last set of stitching. Take that out. Go. Okay, now for the lining. Actually, the ideal time to have put those straps on is actually before you even stitch, before you put the back and front together. When you're basting it together, the top together and the bottom, that's the time you probably want to put your the bolts in the top too. Okay, let's go back to the table. You want to put the back lining on right sides together, and this is that big long piece, at least 7 by or 6.5 or so by 8. And then I'm going to once again hold these down. Let me remove the mat. I'm going to carefully flip this over, and I want to just pin in the corners, pin in a few of these corners, especially the top edge, so I can see the bottom one, to transport this to the machine. Okay, you want to make sure that this is covering everything, that this is covering it all. We're good to go, and you can just hold that, or just put another pin if you like. Okay, I put it back in the machine. I'm going to remove these pins so they don't cause any trouble. I'm going to check underneath, make sure everything is nice and smooth and straight, and we're good to go. And now we're going to stitch in the lining. All right. And we are done with stitching. Now we're going to go back to the table and finish up this bag. Because this is a tear away, I'm just going to tear this away. That way it holds it nice and still while I pull the stabilizer away from it. And I see some of it broke. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to take a nice sharp pair of scissors, and I'm going to trim this down to 1/4 inch. So I'm going to miter my corners. Be sure that you don't cut through your corner stitching. Okay. Whoops, I missed this. I want to give it a clip where it has that angle. You don't have to take out the stabilizer. You can if you want to. I'm not going to take any more than that out. All right. So we're going to now open this bag. I want to just fold that over where the seam over where we're going to pull it. I'm going to reach inside, pull it through the lining first. Lining comes first. Of course, if you took all that out, it'd be a lot easier to turn. To me, this is the hardest part, is getting this to turn. Now I want to use a seam ripper to pull, or actually you don't have to. This is a tearaway, so if I just yank on it and then tear away all this excess stuff. If you have any little bits, you can trim them away with the scissors, or if you still see little white hair sticking through, just take a black fabric marker and just color them dark. No one's going to know. At this point, you're going to want to seal the bottom together. You could take this and sew it together by hand. Oh, all right, I'll do it off camera. I sewed the end shut against my will. However, I could hear my mother in my head saying, no one ever died of hand stitching, just do it. So I did. Okay, so now I'm going to open the rest of this bag. Use the zipper, push it all the way open, and then I'm going to push the rest of the bag through. Just grab it here and pull it through. Now I got his bolts messed up. It's okay. I'll just stitch those down by machine or by hand. That's why I think it's better to stitch down these extra parts while you're just securing and top stitching the lining. So yeah, I'm gonna have to come back and fix that. And I'm just gonna do this and hand sew it to itself. And no one will know that it's not right. The other one. Let's see if I messed up the other one too. Nope, this one's fine. This is how it should look on this side. Okay, and now I push out these corners. Close it up. I'm going to give it a good press. Now I've got steam, and I'm just giving it a good press. Hey, this one's all finished. I think it turned out cute. If you'd like a copy of this design, then please send me an email request at waltzquilt@yahoo.com, and I'll be happy to send it to you along with the written instructions. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little project, and I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. See you guys later. Bye.